I'm Connor Old, and welcome back to another episode of Old's Oscar Countdown. And this week, I'm going to be breaking down my reactions of the 2021 Golden Globe nominations, what they mean for the future of the awards race, how they affect the Oscars, some of the winners and the losers, and my opinion on every single category and announcement. But if you guys are new to the series, what I do every single week is break down a different Oscar category and give my predictions of what that will be. So ultimately, this is an Oscar channel. But a few days ago, I gave my Golden Globe nominations predictions and ended up with a 70% accuracy on all the categories, which is pretty good. And for most categories, I'm either getting 3, 4 out of 5, sometimes 5 out of 5. And now I'm going to break down and see some of the impacts the Golden Globes will have on the awards race. Now, it's also worth noting at the top that the Golden Globes are very different than the Oscars. There's only about 80 or so members. They're journalists versus the thousands of members within the Academy that are industry members, people who work on the movies. So it's going to be a very different type of taste, and some movies we may see here, we may not even hear again from then on. So it's important to remember the Globes that don't always have a huge impact on the Oscar race. However, it is worth also noting that they do have more of an impact, I think, this year over other years. I think this year, because it's been such a disparate year, so many people aren't sure of what the movies that need to be watched. People are unsure of what the awards movies are, because we have some indication from the critics groups, but we really haven't had a lot of industry awards. And this is sort of the coming out party saying, these are the most important movies of the year. These are what you should be on your radar and what you should be watching. And I think will influence ultimately the Oscar voters, and particularly things like always speeches for winners help a large deal for the Oscars. But it is worth noting that this is not what the Oscars is going to be like. They're very different voting members, so we're going to have to wait until the SAGs and things like that. So at the top, just jumping into the winners and losers of the Golden Globe nominations, I think the big winner would be Promising Young Woman. This is a film that I didn't have really in any of my predictions aside from Carey Mulligan, and has come out as a real strong movie that people have been enjoying, and particularly the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. Now, I was unsure that if it was going to be too divisive of a movie, which sometimes does hurt it, particularly with the chances of winning. But in this case, Promising Young Woman really shined, getting that best film drama. It was campaigning initially for comedy musical, but to switch over to film drama and to do well, that's critical. Carey Mulligan, of course, getting nominated. I think she has a lot of steam to not only get nominated, but maybe even win this award. And then Emerald Fennell getting in for both original screenplay and for best director is a big deal, and shows that in the Hollywood Foreign Press Association's case, it's a stronger movie than something even like One Night in Miami or something like The Father, because they missed out on a couple of key categories where Promising Young Woman really hit on a lot of categories. So they really like that movie. It could be controversial when it comes to the Oscars, but this significantly boosts its stock, particularly if someone like Carey Mulligan wins for Best Lead Actress. Then, The Trial of the Chicago 7, I think, is a movie that did what it was supposed to do and overperformed a little bit. I predicted it would get all the nominations it did, as well as original score, which it didn't get, but it did get Best Original Song, so that was sort of the other nomination that they really enjoyed the movie. You could say that maybe it didn't get 2 nominations for Best Supporting Actor, so that hurt it, but ultimately, from when I'm looking down at the Oscar race and looking at movies that can win, Trial of the Chicago 7, it has a very clear path as to winning, because right now, Sacha Baron Cohen has been nominated twice for Borat's subsequent movie film and Best Comedy Actor, and then also for Best Supporting Actor. So in my opinion, because no other Trial of the Chicago 7 cast member was nominated alongside him, it seems like they have all the momentum that if you like that movie, you're going to nominate him there. So let's say Sacha Baron Cohen becomes the front runner to become the leader of the supporting actor race. Well, in that case, you look down at the Oscars and you go, okay, well, he's going to win Best Supporting Actor. It could very well win Best Screenplay. They like Sorkin. And then there you go, it wins Best Picture. That oftentimes the Best Picture winners, think of something like Birdman, or even last year with Parasite, or Moonlight, or Spotlight, all these movies, Green Book, they're winning screenplay awards as well as winning Best Picture. Spotlight wins screenplay and also picture. Or something like Green Book wins Best Supporting Actor, wins Screenplay, wins Picture. So that has the clearest path, I think, as of right now, of winning an acting award and succeeding there. And if Trial of Chicago 7, for example, wins here in Best Drama at the Golden Globes, that will be a really strong sign. It may become the front runner and goes back a bit, because the Oscar race is always changing and fluid and in and out. But I think with the nominations they got here, Trial of Chicago 7 and its positioning of Sacha Baron Cohen has really done well here. And then the final winner I want to mention is The Father, because I thought that it was going to be a movie that I wasn't sure about, but clearly has resonated with the Hollywood Foreign Press Association and should resonate with Oscar voters, getting in for Best Film Drama, getting in for Screenplay. So I expected to get things like editing and a couple of technical elements at the Oscars, and should do well. And it's still technically a contender, because who knows if Olivia Colman sort of surprises and wins for Best Supporting Actress, or Anthony Hopkins wins for Best Lead Actor, the race can change and into the Father's sort of direction. So that did well too. Then going into the losers, the big couple ones that I notified were One Night in Miami and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. They both got a couple nominations, including Regina King for Best Director, and Ma Rainey got the 2 lead acting awards, but it didn't get the big stuff. So it didn't. Ma Rainey and One Night in Miami didn't get a Best Film Drama. Regina King got in for Best Director, but missed out on someone like Kingsley Ben-Adir. So that hurt them there. And just didn't do as well as maybe they hoped. So it could be a situation where there are 2 plays about similar topics and they clash, and maybe they're released too early and they're not into the new hot thing. It's going to be interesting to see how the race plays out. But One Night in Miami not showing up here in screenplay or in picture, I think is hurting that movie. Then the obvious other one would be The Shutout from Da 5 Bloods. This was a movie that I was sort of skeptical about and sort of confirmed my skepticism, this idea that Delroy Lindo, although being the big surprise not getting in, but Spike Lee was maybe thought of being for director, maybe even picture. It was doing well at AFI, it had a little bit of steam, but this really knocks it back a few places. It really shows that they sort of gave Spike the award during a Black Klansman. They're probably not going to reward this again. It was released almost a year ago by the time the award show happened, so it'll be sort of at the back of people's minds. They may even forgot it had come out versus more recent movies. So while it could be in the conversation, who knows if someone like Spike Lee gets in for DGA, it could sort of give a little bit more life to that film, but that film is definitely slipping. Not getting for Chadwick Boseman for Best Supporting Actor, not getting for Delroy Lindo. The momentum slowing for someone like Spike Lee. So the movie as a whole, aside for something like production design or maybe score, its chances are definitely dwindling. And then the final slot going to Minari. This was a movie that, unfortunately, I think was placed in the foreign language category, and as a result was sort of demeaned the same way something like The Farewell or Roma or Parasite has before. Now, Parasite ultimately won Best Picture, so it's not saying Minari is completely shut out of the race, but I think a lot of people thought maybe Lee Isaac-Chung for Best Director. I didn't have that. I don't think that's going to happen, but he didn't get nominated there. Steven Yeun didn't get nominated for Best Lead Actor. Yoo Jun-yeon, who a lot of people thought was going to get in for Best Supporting Actors, also didn't. So a lot of sort of key places, even something like Score, which I thought it could have been nominated, didn't. So there was a couple key areas there was unfortunately sort of it missed out on. So its chances of maybe even winning Best Picture, for example, have been dwindling. It could still get in for Best Picture, but this is not going to help its chances at all. Okay, now with those general thoughts out of the way, I'm going to go down with each category and just give a couple of my reactions and thoughts, and also my ultimate score, which you can find in the comments down below in the description. So the first category, Best Film Drama, I got 3 out of 5 for this. Missed The Father and Promising Young Woman. So, like I mentioned before, One Night in Miami not getting in, that hurts it. Even though Regina King got in for Best Director, it not getting in here and not getting in for Screenplay definitely affects the movie. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, similar situation. Didn't get in for Screenplay, didn't get in here. That hurts it as a potential Oscar winner, because it was positioned in a certain way to win. Very much, Viola Davis was maybe in the lead. Chadwick Boseman. I think Viola Davis has gone back a couple places. Maybe the movie isn't as well liked as we thought. That's interesting to point out. And then Da 5 Bloods, which I mentioned, no News of the World. These were more fringe picks, but they didn't have sort of speed and momentum that they got, that maybe they could have with a nomination. Best Film Drama Actress, I got 5 out of 5 for this. Correctly picked someone like Andra Day, who was a little bit on the outside, once again showing that the Globes love singers and love people playing real life people and love divas, and didn't go with someone like Zendaya for Malcolm and Marie, which is another movie that has a sort of late breaking feel to it, but ultimately didn't get any nominations, which I thought was key. So now with the Best Lead Actress race, I'm not counting out someone like Zendaya, but I'm definitely counting out someone I think like Sophia Loren for The Life Ahead, where I think if she didn't get in here, maybe she's getting into SAGs. By the time you're watching this video, the SAGs have come out, so maybe that has changed that element, but I still think Andra Day is in the conversation and could win. I think this category is not Viola Davis, it's not Frances McDormand. As a matter of fact, I think it could be Carey Mulligan. I think it's probably the leader to win this category, which will be very interesting to see if she does. But got 5 out of 5 here, did well, I'm happy about that. Then we have Best Film Drama Actor. I went 4 out of 5. I didn't get Tahar Rahim for The Mauritanian, which no one, I think, really had. It was a sort of an obscure outside pick, but the most important element was that no Delroy Lindo preferred to Five Bloods, and this could sort of decrease his chances. We'll have to see. I know Stephen Yeun, like I mentioned, for Minari, which is unfortunate, and I don't think The Mauritanian will be a huge Oscar play, but maybe this is the momentum. Another sort of key element is that I think a lot of people were discounting Mank and Gary Oldman in Mank, but it seemed like he got in, and if he continues to get in, I think that people in general, I mean, Mank had the most nominations here. We thought, for a lot of people were panicking and going, oh, Mank's not going to do anything, the critics really hate it, it's going to fall off the map. I stayed true. I said, wait for the industry awards, wait for award shows, see if they like it, and right now it seems like Mank is falling into something like Roma or Irishman. Maybe won't win a lot of awards, but is respected auteur piece that they want to recognize. Best Film Comedy Musical, I got 3 out of 5 for this one. Got Borat, Hamilton, and The Prom, but Palm Springs, love to see that here. But the big surprise, I think the big surprise movie out of all the nominations, TV, film, doesn't matter, was music. This is a film written and directed by Sia, which hasn't come out, which was made by a small studio. I'm surprised. I don't think anyone even had this in their radar. They didn't even know this was an option. It also got nominated for Kate Hudson in the next category for Best Lead Actress in a comedy musical. So it's very fascinating to see this movie. I don't think it will be an Oscar contender. It has poor reviews of the people who have seen it. It seems like one of the oddest choices that the Globes have made in many years, and I don't feel bad for necessarily not picking that movie, because it was definitely a big surprise and one of the strangest movies I think that's ever been nominated. I haven't seen the movie, but in terms of a movie that nobody really even knew existed, like I didn't even know music was a movie that was coming out, and then it got nominated, and that really caught me by surprise. So interesting to see that. And no On the Rocks, which isn't as consequential as we thought. It didn't get in for Rashida Jones, but that's a movie I like, so I'm disappointed in that sense, but it wasn't going to be an Oscar play anyways. Then Best Film, I mentioned Comedy Musical Actress. I got 3 out of 5 here. I missed on Rosamund Pike for I Care a Lot, who was kind of in the Kate Hudson music situation where she was really on the fringe. No one really knew about it. A couple people have maybe seen the movie, and so she's an actress who they like very much, so they obviously nominated her as well for A Private Life. So just keep that in mind, that they really like Rosamund Pike, and they will nominate her any chance they get. So in future award shows, Rosamund Pike seems to be like a Nicole Kidman or someone like Jodie Foster, who does get nominated often. I also predicted Anya Taylor-Joy for Emma. Glad to see she got in there, and while Emma didn't get any other nominations, I still think they're sort of feeling that Anya Taylor-Joy love, so I'm glad I got that in there. And Michelle Pfeiffer for French Exit also getting recognized. But the big upset here is that no Meryl Streep for The Prom, which I thought could very much win this category. So right now I think the beneficiary of this is Maria Bakalova, who could very well win this category for Borat's subsequent movie film, and that will jumpstart her chances in getting for Best Supporting Actress. But if she doesn't win this in a very easy category, that will definitely hurt her chances. So it's a double-edged sword in that way. Then Best Film Comedy Musical Actor, I got 4 out of 5 on this category. I predicted it was going to go to Pete Davidson for The King of Staten Island. Ultimately went with James Corden for The Prom. This was very strange. I thought that Meryl Streep would definitely get nominated for The Prom, or maybe Nicole Kidman. I predicted Meryl Streep, and she didn't get in. And James Corden was the person who got nominated for The Prom, an actor in a role had a lot of controversy surrounding it that I thought would maybe stray the Globes voters away from that. But it's very fascinating to see that this was the only performance from The Prom that got nominated. Yet still The Prom did well, got this nomination, got the Film Comedy Musical. So it definitely did well that way. Then Best Film Supporting Actress, I got 4 out of 5 here. I predicted sort of the long shot of Jodie Foster in The Mauritanian, and Helena Zengel, someone who I predicted in my Oscar supporting actress video, got nominated here. So that's a good sign for the movie, and also for her potentially getting in. The big surprise was, I think, no Ellen Burstyn, because for Pieces of a Woman, which I thought would be a slam dunk, Pieces of a Woman only got the Vanessa Kirby nomination, and it could be a situation where she sort of falls away from the consciousness. Now, I don't think that Jodie Foster in The Mauritanian will get nominated at the Oscars. I think that's a movie that feels kind of Globesy and docudrama-esque, and appeals to the types of movies that the Globes appreciate, but less so maybe the Oscars. And then I mentioned it before, but no Yu Jun-yun for Minari, which seems like a situation of last year where we had Zhao Shuzhen for The Farewell, who missed out in a couple places and then ultimately didn't get at the Oscars. Or maybe something like last year with Parasite. Parasite won Best Picture and Director and Screenplay, yet didn't get any acting nominations. Because I think for a lot of people, they just don't know them. They're not these familiar faces. It's definitely true at the Globes. So Yu Zhenyun, I think, is definitely falling from the chances of getting in for Best Supporting Actress, which ultimately hurts Minari's chances at getting a Best Picture win or even a nomination for that matter. Then Best Film Supporting Actor, I mentioned it before, but Sacha Baron Cohen being the only nomination of Trial of Chicago 7, you could say is a little bit of a knock because it could have got multiple nominations, but I also think that because it's the only one here, because Sacha's the only person representing that movie, I think now he has a good chance of winning Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars, and in a way, that will help the chances of the movie overall. But still, someone like Daniel Kaluuya, he got nominated here, who I think could have a meteoric rise and could win very much this category at the Globes, which will be interesting to see. The big surprise, of course, being Jared Leto for The Little Things, who gives a very interesting performance, does a lot of stuff. I think the Globes like these kind of performances, like Aaron Taylor Johnson or Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. And they less like these sort of more subtle performances, someone like Paul Raci for The Sound of Metal. So I still don't think someone like Paul Raci is not going to get nominated. I think this hurts someone like Chadwick Boseman for The Five Bloods or some of the other Trial of Chicago 7 nominees. But in my opinion, I don't think Jared Leto will get nominated for the Oscars. And the fact that the fact that Paul Raci didn't get bumped out for someone like Chadwick Boseman, I think is a sign that Paul Raci is still a strong contender for getting a nominee in Best Supporting Actor race. Then Best Director, I went 4 out of 5 on this one. Missed out on Emerald Fennell. I went with Paul Greengrass, but interesting to see that 3 female directors were nominated here. I'm not sure if that's going to translate to the DGAs. If it does, well, that's a great sign of progress, but also the strength of something like Promising Young Woman or One Night in Miami. I still think that someone like Paul Greengrass in News of the World, who's been nominated before, someone either Paul Greengrass or maybe it's Spike Lee. I still believe the fact that you look at the numbers, you look at past years, that most of the time, if you're unsure of that 5th slot, you always go to the person who's been nominated before. So we'll see how News of the World does in terms of the technical awards and watch out on some of those guilds before the Oscar nominations come out, because Paul Greengrass could surprise with the director nomination here. But wasn't totally surprised by this. Emerald Fennell getting in for Promising Young Woman, though, is a sort of sign of good faith in terms of they really like that movie because it got in here and it got in for drama and it got in for screenplay. Regina King got in here for One Night in Miami, but it missed out on screenplay and drama. So Promising Young Woman, at least with the Golden Globes, is more liked. And then speaking of screenplay, I went with 3 out of 5. A little bit surprised to see something like The Father here. That seems to be well resonating with the members and the awards people in the industry, particularly based on a play. I thought maybe which play it will get nominated. Is it Ma Rainey? Is it One Night in Miami? No, actually it's The Father. So it's interesting to see no Ma Rainey, no One Night in Miami, even though they have very much flowery dialogue and something like Kemp Powers, who could have got nominated for Soul as well, didn't as well, so that hurts their chances. But because this is just one category and the Oscars split it into original and adapted, it should be interesting to see what gets nominated and what doesn't. And WGAs are going to be hard to judge this year because so many movies are ineligible. So that's kind of hard to look upon. So we may have to look at the Globes as sort of a guiding point of what will get nominated. Then Best Animated Feature, I went 5 out of 5. Got all of them. I don't think something like Cruise and New Age will get nominated at the Oscars. That seemed to be a slot. The Globes are generally more populist and will nominate DreamWorks movies. And they've nominated Trolls and things like that, but the Oscars never do, and they'll go a little bit more independent. So we may see something like the Studio Ghibli movie Earwig and The Witch. But I still feel confident that the 4 of Onward, Moonwalker, Soul, and Over the Moon should get nominated at the Oscars, making it a little bit more of a predictable year, which is great for predicting. Best Original Song, I did very poorly in. I got only 1 out of 5. I missed on Seeing the Life Ahead, which is a Diane Warren song, which I expect to get nominated at the Oscars and could win because of its nomination here. I went with All In for the Fight for Democracy. Instead, it went from Fight for You for Judas and the Black Messiah, which is there's always sort of an inspirational fight the system kind of a song. I thought it would be All In. Clearly it's not. It's going to be Judas and the Black Messiah. That really propels the chances for the Oscars. Hear My Voice, Trial of Chicago 7. Looks like they really like that movie too. Similar sort of vibe. And then The United States v. Billie Holiday made it in the deadline, got an original song, and probably, I believe, sung by Andra Day as well. So that could be also a potential in terms of winning the Oscar. If Andra Day gets nominated for Best Lead Actress at the Oscars, she probably will also get nominated for song, and then they'll reward her for song as a sort of consolation. Best Original Score, I went with 4 out of 5. The big news is that Mank also got nominated. This is Mank and Soul are some of the 2 best scores of the year, but they're both scored by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. I wasn't sure which one to pick, so I just picked one. I wasn't sure if they were going to nominate both, but I think with this sign, it could be a sign that the Oscars are willing to nominate 2 scores from the same person. I mean, they've done that before for someone like John Williams, so it's not uncommon necessarily, but this is sort of the confirmation that we got. Then Best Foreign Language Film, I got 3 out of 5, with the 3 being pretty obvious: Minari, Another Round, and Life Ahead. But what's interesting is that Minari and Life Ahead won't be eligible for the Oscars Best International Feature category. So Another Round should get nominated. That's the expectation. It should get nominated at least at the Oscars. But La La Llorona and La La Llorona is interesting because it's a horror movie, which we don't see too often in the foreign category. And then Two of Us, which is the French selection, which is a little bit more traditional and maybe increases its chances for Best International Feature, but that category I still think is very much up in the air. But like I said at the top of the show, there's winners, there's losers. It's also important to remember that this won't dramatically affect the Oscars race. As you're watching this video, the SAG Award nominations have already been announced. I'm going to be uploading a reactions video for that in the next coming days to give you that, as well as continuing once again on my predictions of categories, including the Best Animated Feature category and Cinematography video, which you're going to have to see as well, which should be very interesting. And so stay tuned as I get sort of a rapid amount of videos to get my opinion on all award show situations. I'll also be covering the Golden Globes in terms of what I think will win. Stay tuned for that video. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Comment below, let me know your predictions, how well you did, who you think is going to win in these categories. That's about it. Until next time, stay tuned.